This is part 2 of chapter 15, where we go over nutrition. So there's a lot of definitions here. So if you're making note cards as you go through these chapters, definitely make note cards on these terms. Nutrition is the study of nutrients and how the body uses them. We'll be going over a few examples of this. The main categories that we separate nutrients into, which are the chemicals supplied by the environment that an organism is required to eat in order to survive. And our nutrients we kind of put into larger categories of carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, vitamins, minerals, and water. To start with, we have macronutrients. These require large amounts, okay? And our macronutrients are lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins. Micronutrients, which are required in small amounts, are vitamins and minerals, okay? So you don't need to take as much of those or consume. For macronutrients, as you may be already aware, they are expressed in heat units, which are termed calories or kilocalories. And that is how they are measured for what type of energy value they will give you. And not only do we separate these into these big categories, right? You definitely need to know this. Macronutrients are lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins, and micronutrients are vitamins and minerals, which we'll get into. You also need to know what we would term essential nutrients and non-essential nutrients. Essential nutrients are things that your body absolutely needs because your cells cannot synthesize them on their own. So you must consume them through your diet. Let's start with our macronutrients like carbohydrates. These are organic compounds used as sources of energy, and carbohydrates are essentially just sugars. Starches fall into that category as well. Typically, when we look at carbohydrates, we separate them into monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. Monosaccharides are simple sugars like glucose. Disaccharides are a little bit more complicated. They are two sugar chains. So this could be cane sugar, things you might put into sweets, things like that. And then polysaccharides, which are more complex ones like starch or glycogen. These ones are the most complex. They're multiple chains of sugars, and they give you more energy as you break down those bonds between them. Cellulose is another one, which is kind of interesting. This is a really complex carbohydrate found in plants that we can't actually digest ourselves. This is why you can't survive off of eating grass outside. It's very high in cellulose, and your body cannot break it down for nutrients. You do, however, have intestinal flora in your large intestine that can break it down, but not in bulk. Just a few examples here. I'm just going to go through these quickly. Monosaccharides, simple sugars, are absorbed by your small intestine. This includes fructose, galactose, and glucose. Glucose is our primary energy source that we use in the cell to make ATP. Excess glucose is taken in by the liver. Remember, its main function is to do carbohydrate metabolism. Excess glucose, so if your blood sugar is really high and your body wants to do something with that extra sugar, it will take it and it will form glycogen, which is a complex polysaccharide, and store it for later. As far as carbohydrate requirements by the human body, they are a primary source of cellular energy. So we need to have carbohydrates in order to get energy. People that are more physically active require more energy than sedentary people. And this is the estimated intake that you should take. This is based off of USDA requirements. Again, I'm not going to make you memorize these numbers because it's different for each individual person. Lipids are the next macronutrient. You could also term this a macromolecule for any of these. Our simple kind of fats are triglycerides. Triglycerides can be found in a number of different sources from plants and animals. And kind of our main focus of these things, triglycerides being fats, is that they supply energy when we break them down. Do not worry about this extra stuff here. I'm not going to test you on this. As far as lipid requirements go, our diets widely have a wide variety of lipids that we intake. We do need to take in lipids so that we can do fat soluble vitamin absorption in the body. So we do need lipids, and we have bile to help us break down those lipids. But Excess of lipids is not good for you. The USDA and the American Heart Association recommend that lipid intake not exceed 30% for your daily total calories. Proteins is the last one for our macromolecules. There are different proteins and they're made up of amino acids. So amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. And we have essential and non-essential amino acids. Essential amino acids, again, just like essential nutrients, your body can't make them, so you must consume them in order to get them, but your body needs them. Typically, we would get essential amino acids from complete protein sources. Complete protein sources come from animal sources. There are also other sources where we can get certain essential amino acids, although we would have to vary their variety so that we can get all of those essential amino acids. Those come from plant sources, which we would term incomplete proteins, meaning you would need to consume more of them and a wider variety of them just to get the same amount of essential amino acids that you would get from one complete protein source. These are the amino acids. Do not worry, I'm not going to make you memorize them, but these are the different amino acids that we find in food, 8 of which are essential, and then the rest are considered non-essential. For requirements, we have different dietary proteins that we need to consume in order to get those essential amino acids to help us survive. They help us make new DNA, right? Help our cells restore themselves, things of that flavor. For the average adult, nutritionists recommend 0.8 grams of protein per day per kilogram of body weight. And pregnant and nursing women may need more, okay, depending on those regulatory requirements. So now we get to micronutrients. These are vitamins and minerals, okay? Things that you only need in small amounts because excess of those can cause toxicity in the body. You can have essential vitamins and essential minerals, which are things that you don't really produce yourself, which is all of them really, unless you count the intestinal bacteria in your colon. But we would consider most of these essential nutrients. For vitamins, we have two categories, fat soluble and water soluble. Our fat soluble vitamins are vitamins A, D, E, and K, which we're going to learn about because you do need to know these vitamins. And the water soluble ones are the B vitamin complex and vitamin C. For fat soluble vitamins, these ones dissolve in fats. This is why you need to consume a certain amount of lipids each day in order to do this with lipid absorption. You can, with these fat soluble vitamins, because they are influenced by lipid absorption, they tend to stay in the body for a very long period of time, which means you don't want to overconsume them because your body will not get rid of them easily through urine or feces. For these fat soluble vitamins, what's important to note is even when cooking them or processing them, you cannot destroy these vitamins. So they are going to come into the body, whether they're cooked or uncooked, right? And they're going to stay in the body for a long period of time because of their fat solubility. For these vitamins, okay, we have a few characteristics for each of them. How they function in the body, and then their sources. Okay. A lot of sources are going to come from, at least for these first two, A and D, from animal sources. And then these last two are coming more from non-animal sources. Vitamin A is synthesized from carotenes. It's stored in the liver. It's heat stable. Okay. And it's necessary for us to produce visual pigments, mucoproteins, mucopolysaccharides, lots of things to help us with development of our bones, teeth, and epithelial cells. Vitamin D helps us absorb calcium, right? Makes your bones strong, helps with the development of your teeth and bones. Vitamin E, okay, is an antioxidant. It prevents oxidation of vitamin A, okay, which helps keep the stability of cell membranes, okay? This can prevent free radicals in your body. And vitamin K helps us with blood clotting. For the water-soluble vitamins, these ones are going to go into you and then leave out through your urine. They do not stay in the body like fat-soluble vitamins. So you've got B vitamins and vitamin C. Vitamin C is also called ascorbic acid. Your B vitamins, they are very useful. They help you in metabolism of carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins, your macromolecules. They are destroyed during cooking and food processing, so you tend to want to have these consumed raw, okay? B vitamins, and there's a complex of them, and then also vitamin C. So again, if you're trying to drink vitamin C through your orange juice, but then you end up cooking with orange juice, you are breaking down that vitamin and it no longer has those same properties. Vitamin C is necessary for producing collagen and for metabolism of certain amino acids, iron absorption, a lot of good things for your body. These do not get stored in your body. So even if you consume large amounts of B vitamins and vitamin C, it's going to come out through your urine. For the names of these vitamins, this is where we get some of those specific names. So this is our B complex here, where we've got B1, B2, B3, B5, and B6. Okay. Vitamin B1 is called thiamine. It helps us when we are processing our carbohydrates. Vitamin B2 is called riboflavin. It helps us process different sugars. It helps with cell growth. Vitamin B3 is called niacin. It helps us, again, process all of these things, sugars, proteins, fats. Vitamin B5 is called pantothenic acid. This is helping us when we process carbohydrates and fats. Again, all of these have a very similar function, helping us process carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And then vitamin B6, this is going to help us do all those things. Lots of different sources here, mostly these B vitamins coming from a meat source, but again, you have lots of other sources like green vegetables, legumes, things of that flavor. Another table with these vitamins, okay? Vitamin B7, biotin. This is helping us again for processing amino acids, fatty acids, nucleic acid synthesis. This helps us with us forming our DNA and RNA. Vitamin B9, folic acid, folacin, okay, helps with DNA synthesis, helps us produce new red blood cells. Vitamin B12, cyanocobalamin, okay, this is working to help us with myelin synthesis for our neurons, okay, helps your brain, needed for red blood cell development. This is a very important vitamin. And then lastly, vitamin C, which is called ascorbic acid, helps us for collagen production and a number of other things for absorbing other nutrients. That's it for vitamins. If we get to minerals, okay, minerals again are substances that we would term inorganic, okay? We get them in our diet, but they have to be micronutrients, otherwise it can cause toxicity in the body. Actually, your body 4% of it is body weight is made up of minerals. And you might guess what that is, your bones and your teeth, okay, giving it that weight. The major minerals in the body are calcium and phosphorus, which we know we get in that salt in our bones, calcium phosphate. Other minerals in our body are potassium, sulfur, sodium, chlorine, and magnesium. And all of these different minerals help our cells function, specifically our neurons, as well as they communicate with each other to keep your body running. There are also other minerals in your body that we would term trace elements, things that you need in very, very, very small amounts. And those include iron, manganese, copper, iodine, cobalt, zinc, fluorine, selenium, and chromium. These things your body can use to do a number of different processes, but in high amounts, it can cause toxicity. The main one I wanted you to focus on is iron. That's what I highlighted here. Iron, you need in very small amounts. It's considered a trace element, and it is used to help you form hemoglobin, which is the main protein in your red blood cells, allowing them to carry oxygen. So lastly, we're getting to those last parts here. Just an adequate diet. On your quiz, you will have something about the USDA MyPlate. This has replaced the food pyramid, and this is showing your daily nutritional requirements. Here's a picture where instead of us having the food pyramid, where it shows us certain amounts of food to eat, this has been replaced by the USDA MyPlate, where you have just different portions of your plate and what they should be taking up. So you have a portion for fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and then you have a dairy portion here in the cup, just showing you what proportions of your plate you should eat for each nutrient. There are a few things that can happen if you do not have a proper diet. And the main thing, the main term we would use is malnutrition. This is poor nutrition that results either from a lack of essential nutrients, right? You're not getting in enough of those nutrients, especially essential nutrients like amino acids from proteins, or a failure to utilize them because you have some sort of issue. Malnutrition can result from undernutrition or overnutrition. And that is it.